Every day you can see people who don't take responsibility for what's going on around them. It's a big part of what's created the crisis we face today. Sadly, too few executives are holding themselves accountable. Denying or avoiding responsibility are a big part of what creates problems in our lives and in our relationships. Winston Churchill said, "The price of greatness is responsibility." Responsibility is an action you take. It's something you decide to do. There is a tremendous power in taking responsibility right now for whatever is occurring in your life. When you blame other people or situations, you give your power away to them, because then it's something they need to do in order to change the situation. You've essentially said, "I can't change this, they have to do this, it's their fault." When you begin to take responsibility for your life, you take your power back. This can be an amazing shift in how you handle relationships and deal with situations. When you make that shift from blaming to claiming responsibility, then you can begin to make the necessary changes and shifts that will lead you to what you want. Excuses, complaining, blaming, controlling, fixing, and rescuing others are clear signals that you are not taking responsibility for what's showing up in your life. It's hard to take responsibility because it means you are responsible for what's happening in your life right now. No matter what the situation, you have a role in creating it. And for most of us, that's hard to admit. Here are a few examples. It's not my fault my business is not doing well. It's the damn economy. It's not my fault my boss micromanages me. Why is he doing that to me? It makes no sense. I'm good at what I do. I had nothing to do with my spouse cheating on me. I didn't do anything. She's the one who cheated. The people who work for me don't listen or don't do the work the way I want them to do it. They're stupid and incompetent. I can't count on anybody to do anything right. You all have your situations too. We all do. The goal is to make the shift from blaming to claiming responsibility. One of the blocks to claiming responsibility is the fear of consequences associated with that. Fear holds us back from staying in our power. We'd rather give our power away than stay in it. We would rather shift the spotlight off of ourselves and onto others because we're afraid of what might happen. We're afraid of what others might think of us, or we're afraid that we might have to make some tough decisions that will impact us. In her book, Radical Change, Radical Results, Kate Ludeman set up a great model on how to think about and examine your role and claim responsibility in your relationships. So here it is. You have 100% responsibility for what you bring to the relationship, and the other person has 100% responsibility for what they bring. Total, 200%. When you take less than your 100% or more than your 100%, that's where the problems start. So let's work with this continuum from 0 to 200%, with 100% being right here, in the middle. This is the place you want to be. This is where you claim responsibility for your role in the relationship. No more and no less. If you take less than 100%, then you become a victim. And then you're over here. And you start blaming and complaining. This is where you give your power to the other person. You're essentially saying, "Poor me. Why does this always happen to me?" You put yourself in a situation where you think you are powerless to change the situation and at someone else's mercy. The victim says things like this: "It's his fault that we argue so much. I feel so unappreciated by my boss. It's her fault that our finances aren't better. She makes bad decisions. It's her fault we don't have more sex. She's so focused on the kids. If only Bill would stop yelling at the employees, then we could hire better people." These are all situations where you give your power away. If you take more than 100%, you're over here. You're either rescuing people or you're a villain hurting people. In either case, you're attempting to take more power, more control over the relationship. Here's how those two personas come out on this side. The villain is very judgmental, a tyrant or a critic, and says, "The heck with you." The villain judges, dominates, and wants to control others. It's always their fault. The villain says things like, "If you can't do it the way I told you to do it, get out of my way and I'll get it done. I knew I couldn't count on you. You are so undependable, I'll have to do it. I always have to stay on your ass to get things done. You're so goddamn lazy." The other persona is the hero. This is a person who is a pleaser or who likes to rescue people. The hero says things like, "Give it to me, I'll take care of it. It's okay, don't worry about it. Just get it done whenever you can. I'll work around it. Since you're in trouble here, I'll help you. It's what I do best, helping people like you who need help." This hero is trying to save the day, help or fix others whether they ask for it or not. I've attached an overview of these 3 different personas so you can see them in more detail. On both sides of this 100%, it's usually not healthy. And we do this all the time. We move back and forth between this side and this side. I've attached an exercise you can do to help you see where you are in your key relationships, to see how you give your power away or how you take more power in the relationship. Put down the name of a person you're having a challenge with. Then write a brief description of the situation. Then put a mark on this responsibility spectrum of how you're currently behaving. Now remember, be honest. It's really important to be honest with this. Then write out what you need to do to claim responsibility. Taking responsibility is a different way to approach relationships. Here are some examples of how you can shift from blaming to claiming responsibility. This is how the language would sound when you do that. Blaming someone would sound like this. "Why don't you stop micromanaging me and let me do my job?" Responsibility. "How can I build my credibility with you? I must be doing something that shows you that you can't trust me." Blaming. "You know what? You just don't get it." Responsibility. "I must not be effectively communicating what I'm saying." Blaming. "If you can't do it, then I'll get it done." Responsibility. "What am I doing that's creating a situation where you can't get your job done?" In these examples, I'm taking responsibility for what I'm doing to contribute to the situation that's showing up in the relationship. Remember, the other person has their 100% responsibility too. So if you see them blaming or complaining, then you know where they are on the line. Your awareness of the process will help you learn how to manage the relationship differently. This takes patience, practice, and awareness. So now it's time to burn it in. Here are 4 steps you can take to help you to begin to claim responsibility in your life. First, commit to 100%. Commit to taking 100% responsibility in all your relationships. Commit to keeping your power in all your relationships. And that's all you can really do. That's all you're responsible for doing. Be aware. Use your awareness radar. Notice when you go over or under the 100%. Stop and acknowledge responsibility. Notice when you're blaming, complaining, and rescuing. These are signals for you that you're deflecting and avoiding your responsibility. So pause, shift, and replace the blame and criticism with responsibility. Accept the consequences. Few of us need schooling in taking credit, but too many of us need some reminding of what happens when things go wrong. Accepting the consequences is not a sign of weakness. It's a measure of leadership. The sooner you take responsibility, the sooner you can move forward. Remember, the price of greatness is responsibility. Until next time, passion rules.